Alright, I'm gonna finish eating. Hold on. Promise I'm ready. I'm not eating, I promise. Okay, so welcome to Wednesday's edition of Office Hours, April 22nd. I am your friendly neighborhood math teacher, and let's get started with a homework question that I got. So, let me make sure this test is uploaded. Alright, so dual credit, your test should be visible on Google Classroom and Blackboard by now. So y'all have the day to work on it. Please get it submitted to Google Classroom and Blackboard by the end of the day. And let's answer this homework question. So, a weight of 500 pounds is suspended from two cables as shown in the figure. What is the tension in the two cables? So it's going to ask you separately, parts A and B. What's the tension in the left cable? What's the tension in the right cable? Those of you that have taken a physics class, you know how to approach this problem. But here, let me scoot over a little bit here. Okay, so let's set up the problem again. So you've got a block, you've got this cable, and then you have this cable. And in my problem, the angles are 20 and 40, and the weight was 500. Okay. Alright, so those are my numbers. Now, there is a quote-unquote imaginary hidden plane here. So they're asking you what is this tension on the left rope T1 and what is this tension on the right rope T2. So it's in equilibrium, which means it's not moving. Now you don't need to know this for this problem because you're not in a physics class, but you know, Newton's second law says that the sum of all your forces equals ma. There's no acceleration, there's no movement, which means that the sum of all your forces should be 0. Again, you didn't need that here. All you need to know is that you're adding three vectors together because this is in the vector section, which, by the way, this is 6-4 number 28. I'm going to write that over here under the overlay. So you just have to take your T1 vector, break it up into x and y components, take your T2 vector, break it up into x and y components, and then the sum of all your x's plus the sum of all your y's should equal 0. Okay? Alright, so the key thing here is that T1 is pointing to the left, so its x component will be negative. So here, if this is 20, this is also 20. If this is 40, this is also 40. So T2 breaks up into an I and a J. T1 breaks up into an I and a J. So T1 is equal to, we'll say, hold on. Let's do the actual notation for this class. Because really it's just, you know, the x component would be T1 cosine 20 degrees, but you can't just use T1 twice. Does that make sense? No, that works. Okay, so we'll say T1 cosine 20 degrees I plus, oh, and that's negative, plus T1 sine 20 degrees J, because that's the y component. Okay, T2 is both positive because they're pointing to the right and up. So T2 cosine 40 degrees I plus T2 sine 40 degrees J. And then of course you've got the weight, which is just negative 500 J. Okay. Oh, sorry, getting an email right now. Oh, it's not a homework question. It's fine. All right. Okay, so you got to add all three of these together. So if you just look at the x components, they're supposed to be equal to 0. If you just look at the y components, they're supposed to be equal to 0, sum up to 0. So in the x components, you've got negative t1 cosine 20 degrees I plus t2 cosine 40 degrees I, whoa, equals 0. Whoa, oh no. There we go. Yeah, that's a 0. Okay, and in the y components, you got t1 sine 20 degrees j plus t2 sine 40 degrees j minus 500j equals 0. So what you end up with is a system of equations because you have two different equations, you have two different variables, t1 and t2. You can actually just, let's see. Yeah, you could just add them together, substitution, elimination, however you want to do this. t1 and t2 are your variables. I mean, that's probably what they did here, right? I haven't even looked at this yet. Hold on. I'm going to assume they do something really similar. Because, again, I'm kind of taking it from the physics slant, which I really shouldn't do because I can't assume you've taken physics. But, yeah, so they're breaking this up into left and up. They're breaking this up into right and up, and then you've got the weight, and this one is 2,100 pounds. Yada, yada. Vectors in terms of I and j. Yeah, so they're doing exactly what we just did. The angle between the left cable and the positive x-axis is 155. So that's because they're going over, remember, from 0 degrees. We just drew the triangle separately. See? Their x component is negative, just like our x component was. They just actually got the decimals. So they're doing exactly what we're doing so far. Yeah, I mean, exact same thing. And then negative their weight. You know, we had 500 in ours, they're having 2,100 in theirs. So you've got the three different forces. Right, the sum of the three forces equals 0. So that's exactly what we did here. And now they're just doing some algebra to rearrange it. If you want to follow from here to here, they just distributed this F1, they distributed this F2 here to here, and then down here they combined the I's and they combined the J's. So factor out the I, factor out the J, and we don't have to do that with the way we set it up because we have the I's and J's separately already because we separated the X and Y axes. But I mean, so far, again, identical to what we did. So the sum has to equal 0. So that's our first equation back here. Right here. And then their second one is going to be what we have here. Yeah, and then system of equations. You could have done substitution or elimination at this point. Yeah, I mean, we could keep this going, I guess. Just remember, when you see cosine 20 degrees or sine 20 degrees, it's just a big decimal. So you want to add these together. We can just do, let's see, what would be the easiest method for solving this out? It looks like the T1s would add together, but they have different coefficients, so that doesn't work. We'll just do substitution. So we'll rearrange the first one. And we can say T2 cosine 40 equals T1 cosine 20. So therefore, T2 is T1 cosine 20 over cosine 40. And I can substitute that T2 into the second equation here. So the second equation says, so we'll write this out. Substitution into the y equation. So we've got T1 sine 20, then plus our new T2 and then the coefficient was sine 40, then minus 500, so or minus 500 equals 0. There we go. So when all is said and done, and again, your numbers are going to be different, so you just type in whatever decimals you need. So when all is said and done, these first two you can factor out T1, and you're left with sine 20. And again, you're replacing these with the numbers in your problem, right? Cosine 20 over cosine 40, sine 40. Oh wait, no, there's no parentheses there. I closed the parentheses off too soon. There we go. Equals 500. Oh, come on. Ah! Come on. There we go. So T1 is going to be equal to 500 divided by that parentheses mess, which is just going to be a bunch of decimals. So type all those in, get your decimal 500, or whatever your weight is divided by that. That gives you T1. So solve T1, plug in for T2. This answer, just plug it back in right there. Okay. So that was number 28 on 6-4. Okay. All right, so homework due at midnight tonight, test due at midnight tonight. High school pre-cal, you have a test due at midnight tonight. So a lot of you have things to turn in. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a high school pre-cal lecture. Dual credit, really, as soon as you finish this exam and this round of homeworks, you're going to be on, a week and a half hiatus before we take the final exam. Since we don't have any incentive to finish early, we're going to go ahead and wait until May 4th to take the final. So that gives you a week and a half until that happens. You are taking your final on MyLab Math, so that's going to be the big difference. So I do want to prep y'all for that. Let's see. I'm not sure what. Oh, yeah, just remember, go to Blackboard. Hopefully you're logging onto Blackboard at this point. Whee. Then y'all's won't look like this, but here. Pull up a class. And then it should be visible by now. So, get over here. This should now be a visible post. You should be able to see the exam. Everybody can see it now. You can tell I had too much time with this. I did tell you there was going to be a bonus question on this. So I am not going to help anyone with it. It's a fun one. But other than that, 6 questions. There's still 100 points to distribute on the, well, 110 with the bonus, but there's still 100 points on the test, so be sure you're doing all the parts you need to. Show all relevant work that you need to. Remember, always the disclaimer, you need to show appropriate work for full credit. And be sure to submit to both. All of your comments and stuff will go on Blackboard, because Blackboard actually has annotating tools where I can leave comments and tell you what you missed where. Google Classroom does not have a good way of doing that one. I can leave private comments and stuff like I've been doing with the extra credit, but I can't actually annotate on your paper. Oh, good. I'm glad you got the answer. All right, time to pull a winner for our daily Twitch drop, rewarding you for being awake. So we are going to pick a random number here. I see 4 of you on. That is actually, never mind, that's a bot. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so we have a winner. Be sure to respond so I know you're awake. But congratulations. Handing out free homework grades like candy. Not free homework, +5 on a homework grade. But all right, I'm not sure I have anything else I need to talk about. I mean, everyone's working on exams for me, so people that have been wanting to ask questions, I have already answered all of your questions. I've been getting back to you via email. Remember, if you message me past like 9 o'clock, I can never guarantee a response. So those of you that emailed me after like 9 o'clock, I passed out last night because I had to wake up at 4 a.m. this morning. So I was starting a brisket in the slow cooker, not for anything academic. Also, my wife and I watched a movie last night. It's called Defiance, the one with Daniel Craig and Liev Schreiber. That was good. All right. All right. I don't see a response. Mystery student who has won this drop, please respond so that I can actually acknowledge you. Or else we're going to have to pick someone else. Oh, I'm going to be fueled on tea today. Oh, we had a church friend drop off Chickfila for dinner for us last night at our front doorstep. It was fantastic. I love Chick-fil-A. It is amazing. All right. Looks like we're picking someone else. All right. Oh, oops. There you go. New winner. All right, so I'm going to add 5 points to one of your homework grades on your respective homework average. And let me mark it in my book. Okay. I guess I don't really have too much else to talk about. We've talked about class announcements. We talked about pass-fail. We talked about grades. I'm just trying to think of what else was on the agenda yesterday. If you haven't heard, we're not taking any, your high school class, we're not taking a final this semester. All of your high school classes, unless you're in a STAR class, which none of you that take me should be, but regular high school classes will not be taking final exams this year. So no final exams. What else have we been told? Let me see. I mean, the stream's so early, might as well just make sure I go over everything I've been told. We got this nice little concise email that tells us, or that has told us everything so far. If it'll load, there we go. I swear, anytime I actually want it to log in, it's not. Okay, let's see. All right, hold on a second. Here we go. All right, load. Okay, so things from my side, from the teacher side, if you want to peek behind the curtain, let's see. Summer school, if any of you are doing summer school of any kind, it's going to be from July 20th to 31st. So all the way out in July. Normally it's right after school, but they're waiting. Hopefully, I think they're hoping that they can get back into the building by then. No final exams. May 7th is Teacher Appreciation Day, so that's, you know, the Thursday of our finals week for Lee College. There's a chance prom could be in the cafeteria of the school sometime later this year because, you know, everything has been closed and everything has been canceled. So seniors, there's a chance. Graduation, there's two options so far. They could host a virtual graduation, or they might wait until later in the summertime before the next semester starts and try to have it somewhere else. Y'all have been asking about caps and gowns. We don't know for sure. Originally, they were supposed to be picked up May 1st, and I know some of you still want them because y'all want to do pictures and all that stuff. I haven't heard anything else other than we don't know exactly. I'm not even sure if the school has them yet. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so just be sure to get your test done today. Email me if you need questions. I will be available for the rest of the hour, but I'm going to go ahead and shut off this recording. So, see y'all later.